Remakes, remasters, and reimaginings. Remakes of video games are all the rage in the year 2026, with so many, some good and some not so good, and some just not even the same game. It got me thinking, what is a remake? What's a good remake? So I decided to do this video after thinking about it for a very long time, and hopefully show you what really is the perfect remake and how not to do one. First off, there is a industry standard of remakes and remasters. This confuses people greatly and it can cause arguments, but a remake and a remaster are totally different. According to most gamers, remasters are the original game as intended. Same design, same gameplay, but brushed up and touched up into a high definition visuals to sometimes high graphical fidelity, 60 frames per second or higher frame rate, high resolution textures and 3D models. Remasters are not remakes, as most of them really ain't remaking anything. A remaster to me is the Metal Gear Solid 3 Master Collection Volume 1 part and the Son of the Enders 2 HD version. It keeps the original graphics engine but makes it a little high resolution with 60 frames per second, no blur, no weird bloom, just clear visuals, no 30 frames per second, clear refresh ratio too. A good remaster is also the Klonoa collection, specifically Klonoa 2. However, having said that, it loses the cartoonish cel shading of the original. In fact, in my opinion, probably one of the best remasters is Resident Evil 0 HD. Character models are kept the same but polished up. In-game text and environments that you couldn't read are now crystal clear. But there's also the highly acclaimed Tomb Raider and Soul Reaver remasters. These remasters literally keep the original code, level design and gameplay, but totally change the 3D aesthetics and character models to a clear and clean version that represents the in-game cutscene versions of said characters back on the original PlayStation. The HD remaster of the Tomb Raider even has skyboxes, the detail of Raziel and the glowing eyes. It's a splendid remaster, but honestly I feel just having high resolution textures and clear visuals is enough for me. But I do think it is great. There are those who say this is the gold standard of a remaster, and it's hard not to agree with them. It's gorgeous. Now, a bad remaster? Well, that depends on your definition, but to me a bad remaster completely changes the character models, textures, and just recreates it while losing the original art design and aesthetic. Final Fantasy X is a clear example, as I was told Square-enix lost the source code to the game and lost some of its assets, allowing them to recreate the models. This was also the same for their Final Fantasy HD remaster, where the character models looks more like their Dissidia counterparts rather than their original design as intended. Squall had some floppy hair strands, not spiky tufts. Decent remasters, but losing the artistic flair of the original, and so it dampens the reasoning of it. Games are not just games, they are art forms. And touching them up and changing them to a point that it looks different from what it was intended makes one question: is video games actually art? And my answer is yes, and it should be preserved too. A bad remaster to me is also the HD part of Resident Evil 4. It converts the game into HD, but the textures get blown and pixelated. They're not touched up or made better, looking worse than what they should be. It's a shoddy part, still a great freaking game, but shoddy remaster. Fortunately, modders created a true HD version of Resident Evil 4 by finding the exact pictures and references of the models and textures, then implementing it into the game, creating a true remaster. This mod sadly is the definitive look of the game, and how it should actually look. But Capcom being lazy did not deliver. I'm sorry, but Capcom, you could learn from this. Like, why? Why did they not do this? It just makes sense. It's just, that's how you do a remaster. A great remaster, as I said, gives us high definition visuals and graphical fidelity while keeping the original art style of the game. I admit I do miss the polygonal jaggedness of the PS1 era, but luckily some remasters allow us to go back to that. What's your favourite remaster? Comment below. Now, onto the real reason I made this video, the remakes. A remake is simply what it is, a product that has been remade from the ground up. There are two types of these games, a remake and a reimagining. The industry just plasters the word remake onto everything now, for simple reasons I suppose. However, allow me to discuss. A remake for me is the exact game but remade. Take the original and you got to think, how do I improve on this? Boom, that's the remake. The standard remake of a game has better graphics, visuals, better or more easy modernized controls, ease of life changes, and adds things to the game that was not in the original. And some remakes will change it up a bit and add unique elements and level designs. Resident Evil Remake, originally released for the GameCube and then ported onto modern consoles, is the de facto true definition of what a remake is. And for a very, very long time, this game was considered the best remake there was. Taking the original game from the 90s and adding a complete graphical overhaul, amping up the creepy atmosphere, adding defensive items as a health and survival system, changing the layout of the mansion's map design, new areas, and all new monsters. Perfect. Like honestly freaking perfect. But having said all this, the campiness of the original is still good and you can still play it. The original gives off this Dario Argento vibe mixed with George A. Romero, creating a stylized, creepy horror game. Although dated now, it has a campy charm to it. Coupled with the uncanny PS1 graphics, it gives off a unique vibe. I also have to add that Resident Evil 4 has a great remake. The original Resi 4 was so distinguished and mind-blowing, it literally changed third-person shooters and the gaming industry. A fast-paced stop-and-shoot action horror game with jump scares and cinematic campy fun. Everything about that game is perfect in design. Yes, perfect. The way the tank controls are implemented, the weapons, the art style, and the atmosphere. The remake literally takes the original game and modernizes it, adding a new controller layout that's easy to control, new areas, battle mechanics, remixed level designs, new enemies, and it changes it up a bit. Prolonged gameplay segments and mini-missions. But alas, I do not think it's as perfect as its predecessor. If you play the remake every day with a time of 100 hours put into it, you'll understand the aiming of the gun is not good quality, and the aiming is somewhat janky, while also the rubber band difficulty is far from the perfection of how it was implemented in the original game. Now onto the other Resident Evil games, cause God knows Capcom loves squeezing them out. Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 4 as of 2026, for me, are the true remakes of their respective games. They take the original design, adding easier modern controls and adding new stuff to it, while Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 are reimaginings. When Resident 2 Remake was announced, I wondered how it would play. Would it play like the original remake? Would it have tank controls and a cinematic static camera angle? But when I heard it was going to be greatly modernized and play like the Revelation spin-off games, I admit I was a little disappointed. Resident Evil 2 is not a remake to me. A good game, but not a true remake. Simply because it takes the designs and mechanics of its sequels rather than builds upon what was established in the original game. It uses the over-the-shoulder third-person shooting camera that was introduced in 4 and utilizes the aiming system of that game. The menus design and the user interface, heck, even the bolt cutters, came from 7. So remaking a game and just peppering the mechanics and the style of your sequels, that's to me, that's not a remake. That's just, I don't know what that is, but that's not remaking a game in my opinion. Also, in fact, it uses the left stick to control the character and the right stick to control the camera. A modernized game design utilized in Resident Evil 6 and also Resident Evil Revelations 2. One thing that got right and perfect with Resident Evil 2 Remake is the level design of the police station. The map is greatly improved and remixed in its design. A realistic, dark and gritty RPG. Adding new rooms and finally a toilet area. There's also an overall rework of the sewers that in my opinion was probably the most boring part of the original. However, the final area of the game is completely different looking. Sadly, even the start of the game is too different for me, as it's greatly remixed. The Raccoon City streets is just a mad dash to the RPD entrance gate. Although I appreciate the tutorial gas station, that was greatly needed. But some changes feel wrong. We lose monsters such as the crows, the giant spiders, and the plant monsters. We get a more humanoid plant creature that is pretty scary, but it's not the same. Heck, even Mr. X, aka the Tyrant, is now not just a scripted event, but a stalker type enemy that hunts you down. Some design changes are good and others not so much. The dismissal of the sapping system that would later make a comeback in Requiem is gone. No A and B scenario, just a slightly reworked new gameplay plus scenario with different enemy positions, but still relatively the same game with the same cutscenes. Resident Evil 2 is kinda like a remake. It's the skeleton of Resident Evil 4 wearing the skin of Resident Evil 2, and not even looking or feeling the way a remake should be. Your opinions may vary, but there are fans who had preferred a more truthful remake. Resident Evil 3 goes a step further and completely takes the game design of Remake 2 and totally reimagines the whole thing. Resident Evil 3 Remake is not even a remake. It takes the characters and scenarios of the original story of Resident Evil Nemesis and turns it into a completely different game. Admittedly, it is a pretty good Resident Evil game, but a total joke of a remake. If you made a new character and made it into a guiding game with a different story, it'd be a decent entry in the franchise, but this reimagining is very ill received. Using the mechanics and systems of the 2 remake and just making it completely new maps and scenarios is not how you do a remake. Cutting out areas and monsters from the original, so when the 4th remake came, it felt like an actual true remake because it's actually using the third-person shooter style the original had implemented and built upon it. Also, another interesting franchise utilizing remakes badly is Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, a GameCube part of the PlayStation original, updated graphics. Wait, go back. MGS2 graphics? Twin Snakes uses the same MGS graphics design, updating its graphics to fit in with the sequel. It also uses game mechanics of its sequel. First-person shooting, guards having radios you can shoot, hiding bodies, etc. It's all well and good, but that's not how you do a remake in my eyes, because we have these new legacy mechanics, but it still retains the original level design. The MGS2 mechanics and controls were not made or thought about when the levels and areas of MGS1 was created. Twin Snakes is a great game, and it's literally MGS1 but with added mechanics, new cutscenes, and a new director, making it very campy and over the top. Also, for probably legal reasons, there's new music that sadly just doesn't beat the original. I don't know what this type of remake is, just adding legacy mechanics to the original game. Like Konami would sadly repeat this again with their remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater titled Metal Gear Solid Delta, utilizing the control scheme and some of the mechanics from the sequel MGS5, while keeping the exact same level design and enemy layout of the original. I think they did that out of respect, but also they did it out of fear. Why fix what's not broken, eh? Again, it's a great game, but it feels more of a remaster. Added high graphical fidelity and modernized controls is not a good reason for me to buy a $70 game I already own. I feel many fans wanted remade level designs, open world style realistic jungles and terrain, new enemy layouts and new mechanics. Not the same game, but modernized. In fact, there's a lot of documentation on the making of Metal Gear Solid 3. Konami had implemented uncut content or things that the original was going to have, but wasn't used thanks to the limitations of the engine at the time. Things such as a dynamic real-time weather system, Snake using a flamethrower and a crossbow weapon, animals hunting each other, and hidden radio frequencies with songs to listen to. All this is not in the remake, and sadly it just feels like a really good modern remaster rather than a true remake. Why was this not in the remake, Konami? I feel it harmed its sales too. The Metal Gear franchise sits on an awkward position in its remakes, not totally a reimagining, not really a remaster. Just the same game, but added legacy mechanics. Kinda not really what I want in a brand new game, really. If I wanted a game that felt like MGS2, I would just play MGS2. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly also had a similar remake, adding only its legacy mechanics and controls to the original. It was well received, but I don't think it was all that good. However, the remake of the same game is a good remake, as it does add new side missions and content, and better graphics of course. It's a great remake of a remake. Kinda funny saying that. But if we're talking about how to do a good reimagining of a game, then look no further than Final Fantasy Remake Trilogy. The highly anticipated, greatly demanded remake of a video game I have ever known. We honestly had no idea what to expect. Would it be turn-based, action? What about the level design? Is it open world? Wow. FF7 Remake takes the original game and completely modernizes it. It's a complete modern RPG game in the style of FF7, adding dynamic orchestral music, new story segments and characters, and overall of the battle mechanics to create a unique system and a more robust weapon and material system. It's an action RPG game, but when your meter comes full, you can go into tactical mode to enter a menu and select a command to use abilities. It's the perfect blend of menu-based old-school Final Fantasy with modern action RPG. I'm very surprised Square-enix hasn't settled on this design. I love it. Since FF11, they've just been changing the battle system on a dime. In my opinion, FF7 Remake has a great battle design that's a perfect blend. I like to play more Final Fantasy games with a similar system. As a reimagining, it creates a real-world environment of Midgar City. Rebirth uses a full-on, realized open world with vegetation, rocky terrain, and you can even swim in the water. No more random battles. The monsters are on the field, and it just happens. High cinematic cutscenes and scripted dialogue with a talented voice cast. It's not a remake. It doesn't take the original map or controls. Sadly for me, it doesn't use the turn-based battle system that I love, but the tactical wait mode scratches that itch. It truly reimagines FF7 and adds so much more. The only true problem is the added bosses and scenarios in the story. For some reason, there's a lot of bloat and padding. It just adds on to more stuff and stretches the levels. That's the only true problem. It's a good thing and a bad thing. It destroys the pace of the original story and adds a lot of bloat. Even the side quests are just full of bloat too. It's a negative. but still I do love this game, giving us Midgard City and allowing us to explore more while having loads of time with the iconic video game city is a dream come true. So in my observation, there's remakes that take the original game and just makes it better and improves on them, such as Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 4. And then there's great reimaginings that modernizes the game, such as Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 2 Remake. We have remasters and remakes with added legacy mechanics. It is kind of complicated and there's no true industry definition of what a video game remake is. But my dear viewers, I will say, the best remake till this day is still Resident Evil 1. Like you just can't fight that. Don't fight it. Don't disagree. It's a fact. We all agree with it. That's how you do a remake. FF7 is a close second, being one of the best reimaginings of a video game. So what's your favourite remake? Comment below. Do you agree with me? I, for one, would love actual remakes of very bad and poorly received games. Sonic 06 remake? No. Let's not make a remake of Sonic 06. It could do with a good HD fix remaster, actually fix the glitches and just polish it up, maybe. I love a remake of Chaos Legion in the next gen. Can you imagine the chaotic battles on screen? Or we gotta have a remake of Devil May Cry 2. I like the first one. That's a great game. I don't care how dated it is. Like Devil May Cry 1 is perfect. It is a great game. I don't care. It was good for its time and it's still freaking good. Devil May Cry 2 desperately needs a remake. It needs it. Please, Capcom. Please. Anyway, that's all I gotta say on this video. Thank you for watching and listening to me ramble on. Please like, share and subscribe. This video took a long time to make and it took a while, but I'm glad I finally got it out. And yeah, please like and just tell me what you think. And yeah, just tell me what you don't like and what's your favorite remake. Comment below and thank you for staying to the end. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So thank you and see you next time.